once again by my lovely co-hosts, Winter and Vampy. How we doing?
Pretty well.
Terrible. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait,
What?
are you?
I'm kidding. No.
I
Oh,
thought,
no.
doesn't, Don't Call It Mystery come out in, 2 days? I thought you'd be,
9 days.
ecstatic. Wait, it's not the... Wait, what day does it come out at?
30th. Today's only the 21st. And I don't get it.
I thought it was I thought it came out on the 23rd. Oh, wait, sorry, I got that mixed up with Oshinoko Volume 2.
God, I wish, every single manga comes out the 23rd, but not Don't Call It Mystery.
Damn.
I have so much manga to announce, releasing on the 23rd.
Well, it looks like you gotta start, that whole, hype, full court press PR that, you were talking about before.
Yeah, just don't be surprised if you start seeing the Shojose World News and Info account just blast your ass with nonstop ads to buy.
Blast your ass! Blast your ass like it's Taco Bell.
I can't do it too much because this community, the minute something gets popular, you got people that will turn around and be like, I don't like it anymore. That shit mid. I'll be like, it hasn't even come out yet. You're like, nah.
Well, I read the fan scans. Did you really? No.
No.
Did you really? No. I just don't like it because other people like it. I gotta be unique.
It's in the mud. It's slowing
in the
down.
mud. Yeah, it's
No.
I'm sorry. It couldn't beat Blue Lock. I don't make the rules.
Well,
it's not a real mystery thriller manga. I don't make the
my.
rule. I'm joking.
Jesus Christ. Well, funny enough that you mentioned Don't Call It Mystery, because for those that don't know, it's being published by 7 Seas, who is the main topic of this video. So, in this episode of the special episode of Behind the Manga, we're going to be taking a closer look at what happened with the recent reprinting of the classic manga Franken Fran. What went wrong? Who's at fault? Who can we point the fingers to? Who do we have to cancel?
Okay, did you not watch... Okay, when you talk about cancel, number one, I know this is a company, but did you not watch the latest episode of Oshinoko? Did we not learn anything from that episode? Number two, see, this is what we've been talking about people weaponizing their followers.
No,
do you not... once you just said that, crap, here we go.
But you see, the difference is that's a person versus a company that doesn't even
I know I said that, but you saying that no, I said that before, but you say, let's go, who are we canceling? Bruh, come on, man.
But anyway,
I'm a newscaster too.
Don't call it mystery. It was alert who wanted to cancel it.
Alright, reeling it back.
Alright.
So again, finally, what could we all learn from this experience that we encountered? Well, I don't think anyone here personally was affected by this, right?
I wasn't.
Franken Fran? No.
Well,
were
yeah.
you?
I didn't even know that it was getting reprinted. So.
Yeah, Franken Fran and I think Hana and Hina, or Hina and Hana, whenever. Those were the two that were affected.
Yep. Okay. So, before we get into what happened, again, shameless plug, but if you want to stay up to date on any of the latest news, information about upcoming releases, any behind the scenes stuff, be sure to follow at Behind the Manga on Twitter, because that's where we're going to be posting all that fun stuff. I know recently we got shouted out by another podcast earlier last week, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Let me hold up. We were shouted out by Anybays Anime on their hashtag Fan Friday. So pretty much for those that don't know, Anybays Anime is another anime focused podcast. and which in this case they kind of like highlight different stuff in the community every Friday from what it looks like. And this past Friday, they gave us a spotlight because we're a podcast that is super serious, right? 100%. And
who are we gonna cancel?
Yeah, who are we gonna cancel? But pretty much, as you guys may or may not know, we try our best to cover stuff that goes on behind the manga, like of your favorite stories, industry stuff, like what's going to happen today, and provide insight as to like what's going on, right? Yeah. So we want to again thank you for highlighting us. We really appreciate you here.
We did not expect it either. It was not planned or anything. We did not expect it. I think when I saw it, I was like, oh shit! And I sent it to both of them. And like, did you guys see this? And Alerts was like, yeah. It's like, yeah, we did. It was like, oh man. And it was really cool. And there were people who chimed in or made comments and quote retweets, at least for me, that I didn't know actually listened to our podcast. So it was pretty awesome. And get the see all the shout outs. So yeah, so thank you for Anyways Anime, and thank you for all the people who either shouted out and also just people who listen to us.
Vamp, do you have any words you want to say?
No, I just thought it was really cool. Do you guys like talk to them? Are you friends with them, or this was just like out of the blue?
This was out of the blue for me.
So I think I'm mutuals with them. Like I haven't like personally spoken to them, but yeah, it was out of the blue. So
yeah, like our podcast account is mutuals with them as well. But yeah, like I don't think any of us have actually like spoken to them, and so it's really awesome to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Then I thought like, oh, maybe you guys are friends with them. I'm not used to it's just getting like, shouted out by people that we haven't really like talked to a lot. So it's like even neater to know that they're just like, yeah, they seem cool. Let's boost their podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for everyone who thanks for Anime and everyone who listens and everyone who also shouted out as well. Yeah. We appreciate it, and we hope you keep listening.
And you follow us, cuz I looked at it now. We're 8 followers away from 200.
No, really?
No, we're No. Yeah. I thought.
Yeah.
Wait. On there. I was thinking of Spotify. I was thinking Spotify.
No.
I was like, wait, what?
No, on Twitter, we're 8 away from making the big O 200, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I don't really keep up with how many followers we have, so I did not know that we had almost 200.
Hey, there you go. Alrighty, well, if you want to help see us freak the fuck out over at 200 followers, then please give us a follow.
Yep.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll cancel some. No,
Damn it, Vampy.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this episode. So, before we begin, has anyone heard or is like familiar with Franken Fran, like that series, or no? No,
I
Vampy?
just know that there's people that really like it and wanted it reprinted. And that it seems to be a horror manga, and that's about all I know about it.
Yeah, same.
Alrighty, well, thank goodness I copy-pasted the synopsis. So for those that don't know about Franken Fran, here's what it's about. Deep within Japan's remote regions is the mansion of Dr. Naomitsu Madaraki, a surgeon notorious for his gruesome work. While he is away from home, his artificial daughter, Fran, takes over the mansion and his grisly surgical practice. With the aid of her violent younger sister, Veronica, the human-cat hybrid, Okita, and Dr. Madaraki's other macabre creations, Fran deals with the unusual requests of her client. So, okay, all right, not too bad. It's one of those like classic manga that came out. Yeah, not too bad. But now that we know what Franken Fran's about, and I think to add to this, it's released in English in an omnibus format for those who are trying to collect it. It's not. I don't think they've ever released singles here. I think it's only.
Yep, that's correct.
6 omnibus volumes for, I believe they're like $20 each.
Yeah.
And you can buy. Yeah. So now that we know the backstory of that,
Also,
on-
to
Yeah, go
add
ahead.
a little bit is that Seven Seas first published this series in 2016. So like February 16th, 2016. That was when the first omnibus came out, and the series finished in actually they had a pretty like kind of quick release, but the series finished in January 17th, 2017. Just as
damn, that's quick.
it's February 16th, 2016. That was the first omnibus. May 31st, 2016 is the second. September 27th, 2016 was the third. And January 17th, 2017 was the final omnibus.
Try like they release every 3 months, right? Pretty much.
I mean, the September one, May to September is 4 months, but like
Okay.
actually September, so everything after actually it's every 4 months. Yeah.
Every 4 months. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Well, now that we got the backstory of what Franken Fran is, Vampy, could you please set the stage as to how this whole thing started?
Okay. On March 9th, Twitter user Wavering Eyes tagged alerts, or me if I'm reading the section. Well, they tagged alerts in a post in which Barnes & Noble listed all Franken Fran omnibus volumes available to pre-order for $19.99 each, with the release date of May 2nd, 2023. Other retailers such as Amazon and Right Stuff Anime listed all the volumes with the same release date. For reference, as of this recording, it's been about 7 years since the original printing. Do you want me to read out this comment?
So I found, while I was researching for the script, I actually found a screenshot of someone asking for Franken Fran or Franken Fran in 2018, and yeah, go ahead and read what they have to say.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna have to spell out their username. Their username is RGALLARD24, and on October 25th, 2018, they said Franken Fran re-impression. I guess they're
reprint.
I guess they meant reprint,
What?
but they actually did say re-impression. We're not messing that up. They said re-impression.
Yeah, they said that. I was like, yeah, Franken Fran reprint when the first 3 omnibus are out of stock. And Seven Seas, on the same day, said, excluding bestsellers, it's not uncommon for some paperbacks to be hard to find after a while, and publishers can't guarantee reprints for all titles. It's one of the reasons why we're putting more and more books on digital platforms to keep them accessible. So fast forward to May 2nd, and none of the retailers have gotten their copies, which isn't uncommon. There have been a few times where the retailer doesn't get a manga on time. On May 9th, Seven Seas announced on Twitter that Franken Fran is back in print and, quote, our first batch of the reprint is available in the Go Manga store. So keep note of the wording they used here. In the comments, Seven Seas confirmed the following on May 9th. These reprints are both limited batches and are likely to sell out soon, but more copies are on the way. Thank you to the many fans who requested them. We're thrilled to be able to bring them back.
Oh, yeah. So, a few days after this tweet, the community noticed that those who ordered directly from Seven Seas, which is the Go Manga store, that's their direct, retailer, those who ordered directly from Seven Seas received their orders. However, those who order from other retailers, such as Amazon, Barnes & Noble's, Right Stuff, Books A Million, etc., didn't receive it and had to wait for the second batch to come in. Now, Twitter user Cammy Whammy asked Seven Seas, hey, where's the reprint I ordered? And they responded with the following. Hello, we don't have an arrival date for more copies yet, but we think they'll arrive at our warehouse in June or July and then ship out to retailers after that. For specific details about your order, we recommend checking with your retailer. This was on, and so they tweeted this on May 17th of 2023. Now, on the retailer side of things, while they received the information that the inventory was coming, they were not told when the inventory was coming, which we'll explain more in this breakdown and why this is significant. And both the retailers and the customers are kind of left hanging with no communication. So
Yeah.
So before we start the breakdown, what are your thoughts so far? Let's start with Vampy.
Oh boy. I remember us talking about it previously, like in chat, that it just. What was it that you said previously, or someone else had said, like, good for them if they can sell their manga at MSRP.
Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like they were, like, undercutting everybody else to prioritize their website. But for me, like, if I placed an order and then I saw, like, oh, I'm not getting mine all of a sudden, but then everybody that ordered through the website is, it would make me kind of hesitant to place orders again.
Mm-hmm.
Through like other retailers, but then at the same time I know it does cost more money to place it through Seven Seas' website, because what did Alert say? It's like full price plus like what, like $8 or $10 shipping in some.
So the way it works is it's full price.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do buy it in a bundle, and they quote a bundle as if you buy 2 or more volumes in the same series, you get a 10% discount, but that's as far as it goes. But for free shipping, you have to spend a grand total of, I think it's $75+ for free shipping.
Yeah.
It's a lot for me.
Yeah, it's about 75 free shipping. For the most part, most of their stuff is like, majority of the stuff like you can kind of find here, but like, you can find at retailers, except for like the reprint ones like Franken Fran and Hana and Hina for the most part. Alerts. What are your thoughts?
Well,
So far.
So far, I'm probably gonna go more in depth in the like talking points / breakdown, but overall, this just doesn't. It already spells like I already can see like the red flags everywhere already.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Like, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to take away from like the conversation we're gonna have earlier or later on. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of like red flags that, as it's one of those things where it starts off okay, but then as you further get deeper into it, it's like, oh, hold on, why'd you make this decision? But then why'd you make this decision too?
yeah.
Oh shit, you guys did this? Yikes. That's wow. Okay. Nice.
Yep. So now for the breakdown. Okay, so from my side at least, before that, it's about the same as what Alerts and Vampy had said. I'm really saving a lot of my stuff for a lot of my conversations for, after this breakdown, and we get to the talking points. All right, so for the breakdown, now, how do books, whether it's, Western books, web novel, or, light novels, manga, manhwa, what have you, how do they get to your favorite retailer? So, when a book is finalized in an editorial process, it is then sent off to one of the many available book printers that's available to a publisher. So, this is called a print run. So, what printer a publisher uses depends on the cost, book format, paper quality, etc. For example, for Viz, the series that are in the Shonen Jump imprint usually get, like their first printings and stuff, get printed in the US, and maybe sometimes the printer in Canada. However, all of the Viz SIGs are always printed in Canada because Canada has the dimensions in their printers to support the Viz SIGs. So yeah, now, of course, those you're talking about for Italy prints, with Viz, and I know people are going to be raging, right, because that gives people aneurysms, but the Italy prints for Viz, that's something that, that's different from what Kodansha uses, which is different from what Seven Seas will use, or what have you. Mostly because Kodansha, Seven Seas, Square Enix, and Dark Horse all use, they're all under the distributor Penguin Random House, while Viz is under Simon & Schuster, and Yimpress is under the Hachise Group, which is the co-owner of Yimpress, actually. And Udon Entertainment, for instance, they are under the Diamond Group, which is who Dark Horse used to be under. Just a little FYI for those who may be interested in that. Now, how much a publisher prints depends on the demand of a book, the contract with the Japanese publisher, etc. Let me tell you, I have asked some publishers about this. This is like super top secret information. They will not disclose it. 100%. That is, who knows those numbers are strictly the English publisher, the printers, and the Japanese publisher. It is like, basically, it's almost, I like to think of it as like someone asking you for your social security number. It's like that. Anyways, and when a print run is done, the books get shipped to a publisher's warehouse. Now, from here, the publisher will send their books over to the distributor. So, Penguin Random House, like I mentioned, does Dark Horse, Seven Seas, Kodansha, Square Enix, or Viz Media with Simon & Schuster. And then Hachise Group with Yin Press, and Diamond Group with Udon, for example. And then now that distributor will distribute the books to the retailers based on a number of factors, like the pre-order, the size of the retailer, influence of the retailer. So yeah, for that one, for what we were told when we talked to one of the publishers about it, the retailers will send, like, you know, trucks and stuff to pick up those books to send to their warehouses. So Barnes & Nobles will send like some trucks to the Penguin Random House distributor, like warehouse, to pick up whatever books to send to, you know, then transfer to the Barnes & Noble's warehouses, and then those will be shipped to any of the like regional locations of Barnes & Noble's, and any remainders will stay in that warehouse. Now, for the talking points, alerts, this is all you.
Yes, so yeah. I'm glad you brought up the breakdown, because a big part of it, we were waiting on this information. So the reason why this episode didn't really like come out on like when it was all going down was because we were waiting on getting approval from this information. So, and thank you to Carl. Shout out to Carl, who runs
Merry Manga Co.
Merry Manga Co.
Who just launched his he just launched his website, his store.
And I am in the middle of testing it out and posting my review about it. I mean, I'm not sure if Carl's going to listen to the podcast or not, but I have placed an order, so fingers crossed it all works out, and if it does, I'll post my review on it and kind of give you guys a breakdown of what my thoughts are about the website. We'll see. But yeah, Winter, could you go like in more depth with like what the conversation was about, what you were able to find out, and sort of like how could you, like, I don't know, provide more context and kind of get a better idea as to like what happened here?
I guess so, yeah. Like, basically, I think we were just talking about, like, we were really talking about March comes in like a lion, I think, at the start. And then, which is unrelated to this, but we were just chatting about it. And then it went into a conversation about, I think he was talking to, like, the rep for the distributor, like one of the distributors. I think it was, for Penguin Random House. And when we were talking about it, basically he was talking, like, we were talking about the whole situation that many people on social media have mentioned, which is, hey, I pre-ordered from Barnes & Noble's, or I pre-ordered from Right Stuff, and this is either delisted or it's supposed to be out, but it's marked as out of stock, and I never received any notification. So we were talking about it, and then he mentioned that I think he talked to the Penguin Random House rep, who is, of course, Penguin Random House. It's a distributor. The distributor for Seven Seas, and he was also confused as well. Like, and so we were like, wait, were you talking about Carl was confused? Well, yeah, Carl was confused, but so was the rep for Penguin Random House. And so, when we were talking, he was saying someone has to know what happened to all of these Franken Fran reprints, because, like, the retailers don't seem to know. When I say retailers, I include, Carl in this. He doesn't seem to know. I guess Barnes & Nobles doesn't seem to know. Right Stuff doesn't seem to know. But then on the distributor side, they don't really seem to know. So you're like, okay, well, how do they not know, right? Like, you're the distributor, right? So Carl had the same question. He asked the rep at the Penguin Random House rep, and they about that series, Franken Fran, and he informed me that he said their system does not indicate anything regarding Franken Fran, but he could reach out to the publisher to find out more information. Carl's conclusion, which was also my conclusion when we were chatting, was that it seems like Seven Seas is the person who really kind of holds all the cards. Like, they are the ones who know what's going on. My theory from that, and I think he may agree, Carl may agree, is it's really with the actual inventory, it seems like Seven Seas may have kind of done their own thing to get Franken Fran reprinted, and it will go straight to their store. And kind of like, well, what about your distributor? And they're just like, what about our distributor? So it seems to me Seven Seas kind of just up and got the series printed themselves, and they kind of left everyone else in the dark. Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. And even when I was talking to Carl about it, he even said it seems like the Penguin Random House rep, as of we recording this, they're not sure when they're going to receive the stock for later prints of Franken Fran. So yeah, I don't know if that was everything that was everything, at least from the chat that I had with Carl.
No, that was really good. Vampy, what are your thoughts on that information?
Actually, I want to know what you think first.
Oh, put me on the hot seat. I see. Okay.
Yeah. You always have to do the controversial talking first.
Of course.
I'll do it.
Oh my. No. I got you.
No. It's the alerts tradition.
It's
That's
the alert
true.
tradition.
That's true.
You're right. Gotta somehow just lose all the followers I just gained. Just
Hey,
light a torch
you're the one
on
talking
fire.
about canceling people. You should be chomping at the bits. Cancel Seven Seas for this. Their terrible decision making, losing trust.
God. Jesus Christ. Okay. But we're seriously, and this kind of goes into the second point, but we'll get into it a little bit later. But yeah, before we continue, this is not on. Before anyone throws torches and everything, this is not on the retailers, and this is not on the distributor.
Yeah.
Those two have nothing to do with what Seven Seas did here. As explained by Winter earlier, right? And earlier when Vampy said, and I quote, our first batch of reprint is available in the Go Manga store. Here's my thing. I think they were a bit sly about it because, again, if we were to take them at their word, they said, and I quote, our first batch of reprint is available in the Go Manga store. Not our first batch of reprints is now available at your local retailer. So to me, what that looks like is they, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
they took that first printing, right, and cut the middleman, and just for anyone who who got it through the website, got first dibs. Which that's fine, right? There's not a problem with that, but you have to communicate that. See, I didn't initially catch it before this, me researching it, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is kind of dumb. Like, why didn't Seven Seas say anything about it? They technically did, but in the worst, low key way possible. And so now looking back at it, I'm like, why couldn't they have just worded that a lot better? Why do they have to be so I don't know, obscure the fact that this first batch printing came was a Go Manga exclusive, and then the second retailer printing or whatever, where everyone else would have gotten it, is later on. You know what I'm saying? That just doesn't, to me, make sense if you're not like communicating it. Another thing too is, I think I mentioned this when we first talked about this conversation, was why tell retailers to open pre-orders and give them like a rough date if you're not going to fulfill them on that date?
I mean,
because
at the very least, they're not the. I'm sorry, but they're not the only publishers to do that. I'll probably get killed for this, but whatever. I'm not just talking about Dimpa in this regard for that, but Kodansha does the same thing. I mean, Kodansha generally does the same thing. That's not really and even outside of manga, a lot of the distributors are publishers that we know of, and outside of manga and stuff. So like that's kind of a standard-ish thing. You want to try to be as accurate as you can, but sometimes dates and stuff are are pushed out or they're changed. It kind of just apparently they kind of do that sometimes just so that it shows up in the system. People can put it on Goodreads, or people can like put it as a pre-order or whatever. Yeah, so like that's sometimes why. But I mean, this situation in general was a little different. But sorry, just I just wanted to clarify that.
No, you're good. Because again, and this kind of goes back to this like recurring theme we've been talking about since like day one of this podcast is just come fucking communicate about.
You really just wanted to get that right, didn't you?
I really did. just fucking just communicate to your audience what's going on. Like, it's not that difficult. Like, I understand, there's just like, ooh, we don't want to, like, get canceled. Ooh, we don't want to, like, step on anybody's toes, or ooh, we don't know. But you're a company. It's your job to give us the product, and it's your job to sell us on what you're trying to sell. You can't really do that by just not saying anything. It would have been way better if you would have said, hey guys, we're bringing back Franken Fran. However, the first batch of reprints will be exclusive to the Go Manga store. So if you want first dibs, go for it.
The only problem, I mean, I get that, but then the only problem with that is it seems to me that they first needed, at the very least, they should have communicated that to their distributor so that their distributor would be like, okay, we will hold off on like putting this information in in like to other retailers or something like that if possible. Because I think that's one of where the big issue is. It seems like, at least to me, the distributor was kind of left out in the dust alongside all of the, the buyers, the consumers. That's the big thing. So it's like, they were also kind of just dropped as like, so to me, it seems like 7 Seas went and said, yeah, we're going to reprint Franken Fran. Here's all this new stuff, and we're also going to have it at other retailers as well as our store. And then it's like they get those orders and then those shipments, and they're just like, all right, we're going to sell them on our store, and then just, that's it. But, sorry, you can keep going.
No, that's a good thing to bring up, too, because it leads into, or actually, we're going to hear Vampy's things first before we get into it.
Vampy, then me, and then Vampy, then me,
Yeah, but I just don't get why communication is just such like that difficult. Like, I just don't. I understand, there's like a whole thing of like corporate messaging and all this stuff, controlling the narrative, etc., etc. But again, right, it makes no sense why we're finding out about this stuff. Like, a good example too is when we found out Drifters was coming back in an omnibus format.
Yeah,
we didn't find out officially from the Dark Horse Twitter. We found that out because Omnibus Collector just so happened to look at the Penguin Random House website, right? And then found it?
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in that, like, order of...
I think so.
Yeah. That's one example. Another example, too, is my friend Zeta, who, for those of you who visited like the Twitter Spaces, he's a pretty like cool guy who hops on, like talks a lot of shit, but he at least knows what he's talking about for the most part. He was the one who told me about the Hellsing reprints coming out, and I'm like, wait, what? And again, we the community found out first, and then the corporate messaging came in later. When it should be the other way around. It should be corporate messaging, then the community, then there you go. Because that's how everyone else does it. So why is it different with the manga community?
Yeah.
Right? Like, before I keep going on, I want to hear your take on this whole thing, Bambi. What you got?
No, I mean, I really agreed with what you said. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I feel like I'm just restating what we've already said a billion times, which is like, you should communicate this issue. You really need to tell people this. Why do we not tell people these things? Why do we just keep all of this in the dark and just leave everyone to be like, where's my shipment? Is this Barnes Noble's fault? Is this the distributor's fault? Whose fault is this? Who should I get mad at? Where's my book? Why are you, like, giving priority to your website? Is this going to keep happening in the future? Why did this happen? Just etc. Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot easier if you just say something, just somewhere, to people. Like, I just don't understand why you don't really want to either, because otherwise you're just gonna have people slandering you online and in the streets, being like, I didn't give my fucking book. Or they're either gonna slander you or other like businesses, retailers, whatever, or your company, when you could have just been like, hey, so this is what we were doing, this is why we did it, just to let you know. Instead, you're just gonna let them run their mouth online.
Yeah, that's like, it makes no sense. Like, this whole thing could have been literally avoided if, like, again, like what you said earlier, if 7 Seas properly communicated with the distributors. And then, even then, it's like, okay, so, which kind of leads into the second point of it, right? Or Winter, did you want to have anything else?
Oh, I wanted to bring up my part. So, so I think Vampy kind of like nailed the big issue. Is there was a gap in communication between 7 Seas and everyone else. It really seemed like 7 Seas was just like, we're going to do Franken Fran, we're going to do Hana and Hina, and I think they're going to do Railgun as well, because I think it was Jaden who found, shout out to him, I think he runs he does like a lot of like social media marketing stuff for various like publishers and stuff. I think it was him who found the accelerator. Oh, sorry, not accelerator. Sorry, Railgun. That it's also getting reprinted. So like, but I think the thing about it is like with those series, it seems to me that 7 Seas was like, we're going to do them first, and they're going to be available on the Go Manga store first. To honestly get more traffic to Go Manga, but they're telling everyone else that, hey, we're bringing these back. And you can like get them at Go Manga or on other retailers, and this includes their distributor. And their distributor is like, okay, cool. We're going to, we'll get stuff ready, right? We'll put it in our catalog. We're going to do this, and at least with Franken Fran and Hana and Hina, it seems like 7 Seas was like, all right, we got the shipment in. Now we're going to sell them on the Go Manga store, and it's like their publisher distributor is like, hey, where are those Franken Fran reprints? And then people are retailers are asking where are the Franken Fran reprints? The other people are asking where are the Franken Fran reprints? And they're asking the retailers. Retailers are asking the distributor. Distributors are like, I don't know. We're asking them. And Go Manga and 7 Seas is kind of like, oh, we sold. It's like, yeah, but if you buy it from our store, we sold them, or they're available, or they're not there, but we're going to have a second shipment, which is going to be for everybody. And it's like, okay, but number one, when is that second shipment in? Number two, why didn't you tell your distributor? Because that was not a cool move there. You just left everyone in the dark, and that's what kind of like annoys me about it. Because here's my thing, I was not going to buy Franken Fran, I was not going to buy Hana and Hina, and I'm probably not going to buy Railgun. But I do think it was a ripoff of what 7 Seas did, based on our research, to us, at least to me, it seems like they took a bunch of, they basically like kind of promised everything and then kind of just hit it themselves, and then it was like, all right, you can only buy it through us. When they told everyone, oh yeah, this will be widely available across different retailers. That's not cool, in my opinion. That is not cool.
Facts.
I would not
Straight
be surprised if their distributor gets really pissed with them, because if I was a distributor, I would get pissed with them. Yeah, that was not cool. And at the very least, you could have just sent something to your distributor just to say, hey, we were planning on selling this through our store first, and then the next one, the next shipment, or can you schedule another shipment for the, other like traditional retailers? You could have just done that, and then at the very least, your distributor would have a heads up. But what you did was you left your distributor in the dark, who is like, supposed to be your friend or your ally in this, right? They distribute your manga. You left them in the dark. You left your customers in the dark. So to me, it reminded me of what they did. Reminded me of limited run games. It seems like to me they're trying to do a limited run games approach with their reprints, in my opinion. And if so, I'm going to be kind of annoyed with that, because maybe that's something that we may need in the community, because I know how people are kind of just like, I want this reprinted. I'm sorry, Vampy. Vampy's going to murder me after saying this, so this will be probably the last time you hear me. But we want Basara reprinted. We want this reprinted. We want Reborn reprinted. We want, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, fine, but maybe, for this kind of thing, maybe this is the approach that needs to be done, where it's maybe like a limited run of printing. But even if you're going to do that, keep your distributor in the loop. Just keep your distributor in the loop. It costs nothing. It really costs nothing.
Yeah, no, and it kind of leads into like the next point we're going to talk about here is 7C's direction with reprints versus other publishers, because again, right, to what it looks like, this is my I call it a crackpot theory, but Winter says it's not. This is just me. I feel like the way it's going to work out from going forward is 7C's is going to run like one batch of reprints through their classic catalog, right, and see, okay, are people really interested in buying this? So they'll order like a small lot, put it up on their website, and say, hey, it's available on our website. If you buy the whole bundle, you get 10% off. But be careful, because it's limited and you can only get it on our site. And then if that lot or whatever like stock that they have sells out, then they'll go, oh shit, people actually want this reprint. Let's actually order a second like printing of it, but this time a bigger one, and send it out to other retailers. I think that's a better approach than, let's say, for example, Viz, where in this case, Viz just has like some sort of list somewhere, right? And they have like a priority list as to like which series to print, and that list shifts depending on what you back order, what you pre-order, etc., etc. And this has been confirmed by Shoujo Beat, where they, when they had like the big O like Q&A that went viral pretty much, one of the big things was, hey, listen, if you have a website or something that allows back orders, back order the manga you want to see reprinted, because that then tells the distributors, who then tell the publisher, hey, listen, I got people who want this shit. Why aren't, like, you should probably print it so we can give this to them. And then the publishers will go, oh, actually, you're right. We should probably move it up the scale so that we can get stuff out of here. That's one way. Another way that I've seen publishers do it is the yen press way, which I think, I'm not sure if this is still true or not, but it's really dumb anyways. So what they'll do is they'll take the first volume of whatever series they have, print it, and put it out there.
So let me slightly correct that.
Yeah.
That's only for low performing series. It's not for
Okay.
every series. So for those who are who love like Toy Bound Hanako-kun, you're fine. You don't need to worry about
Or
anything.
like Bungo Stray Dogs, you're fine. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
you don't need to worry about anything there. But for those who like with Scum's Wish, for instance, yeah, you have that situation.
So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So in this case, for those like low, quote unquote, low performing series, so a really good example is what Triajax, Trinity 7,
Scum's Wish.
Scum's Wish.
Yeah.
What is it? What was another one that people were looking? Higurashi When They Cry. That's another one. Right? Yeah.
You mean Echo?
You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So what they'll do is they will, pick a manga or pick a series that they think will do somewhat well, right? And then reprint the first volume. If the first volume gets enough sales, then they'll go and print the second volume. And then if volume 2 gets enough sales, they'll go print the third volume. And so on and so forth until like the whole series gets reprinted, and then it gets shelved back, and then another series takes its place, and it's like a revolving door of like different stuff too.
Yeah.
Again, the goal is that you should backorder what you want to see printed, but at the same time, it's kind of harder with Yen Press because it's like before they used to be really good at like telling us about reprints, and now actually same thing with Viz. At one point, they used to back in the day, and now neither of them do it.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of hard to gauge, especially for someone like me who's supposed to be the guy who keeps tracks of deals and restocks. It's kind of hard to like guesstimate when something's supposed to come back in stock, because it's not just as simple as, oh yeah, that'll come back in stock in like say for example, One Punch Man Volume 4, because I remember that was out of stock like for some reason. Since it's like a popular series, especially since it's a Viz series, oh yeah, that's just going to come back and like give it like 2 or 3 months, it'll come back.
Mm-hmm.
But something like, let's say, I don't know, Vagabond 37, where no one knows like how many people actually will buy that, it's kind of hard to gauge how often they will reprint that volume specifically. The Seven Seas way, I like it a lot because at least they tell you, like they told us, hey, look, we have a series that we just brought back in print, and you can get it on the Go Manga store for at least a small discount and call it a day. That's fine. But the problem here that we mentioned earlier was that, number one, they didn't specify who was getting that first. They weren't clear enough as to who got that first printing. Sure, in their tweet it says, oh, well, if you want it, you can go to the Go Manga store to get your first dibs on it. But you got to be more specific than that, or you got to make that more clear. Because now you have a bunch of people who are like, well, I guess I'm not going to pre-order from you guys again because I thought I was going to get it and I didn't. And again, you didn't make a tweet, like a actual tweet, like, oh yeah, we're going to do a second printing. No, you replied to someone. And for those that don't know how Twitter works, replies don't get seen as much as actual like tweets themselves. So you have to actually dig for that information instead of just having it as a tweet there, which as a consumer is very frustrating because, again, all of these other mediums like movies, games, regular books, they don't do this. Why is this still being an issue with manga? It shouldn't exist, period. Yet we're still having this issue. Especially if you're trying to like do this like idea of like, or go with this direction of reprints. That's not the problem here. The problem here is that you need to properly communicate.
Yeah, I guess what happened, I mean, because I wasn't part of the manga, at least the manga community and stuff. I had taken like a long break during this time, like I guess when they were active on Twitter like this, and I guess they just did not see like a lot of people like actually finding that kind of information helpful, which I guess back at that time would make sense because it's smaller than how it is now, right? So I guess many of them were like, okay, we just don't find this helpful or something like that. So then they just stopped doing it, right? So like, but like I do think they should try to bring that back because manga is bigger now. Social media has grown, not just for manga, but in general. Social media has grown. This would be very beneficial if you just communicate more, with your audience base, your consumer base, and like you said, alerts. This does help. I mean, it helps people like you. It helps people like who don't have their entire accounts focus on restocks. It's very informative, and it does help a lot of people.
So, I mean, Vampy, what are your thoughts on Seven Seas direction? I guess my first question for you would be, outside of like the communication part, do you like this direction that Seven Seas is taking compared to other publishers? And if so, why? And if not, why not? And what would you do instead?
What would I do instead?
Yeah.
God, I'm not a business person.
I mean, I'm not a business person either, but I went and said that. So.
I mean, the prioritizing their website, I get it. But it's kind of confusing because, like, I almost want to say, if you're going to prioritize your website, you almost want to... It would almost make more sense to put, like, 2 different release dates. Like, this is the day it will be available on our website, and this is the day it will be available to everybody else, because that's what we're focusing on, but at the same time, that's quite confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And you might, like, overload your website if people do decide, like, I need this manga right away, I guess I'll, like, fork up the money for it at full MSRP plus shipping and all that. And then you're like, oh shit, we don't have enough to keep up with this. The reprints thing, I mean, in concept, I don't think small runs of reprints are a bad idea, just to see, as you said, like, who's interested and things like that, which I guess Viz can't do, because they have to make really, really large prints, like you said, like print runs.
Yeah.
I think Win told me that in the past.
Sort of. I think Seven Seas is sort of the same thing, but I think if Viz wanted to do that, they would have to do it with... They have to, like, maybe do renegotiation, or maybe they have to... It would have to be, like, with out-of-print stuff, like Basara or Red River or something like that. Because I don't think Seven Seas is not doing this with their ongoing stuff, unless it's, like, it's been going for a long time, like Railgun.
Yeah, I mean, like, only with stuff that's out of print.
Yeah.
I just assumed that was another thing that was keeping, like, companies like this from reprinting stuff, is they're like, oh, our print runs have to be really big.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they don't sell? Like you talked about before, and then, like, how Alerts was saying, like, oh, a specific volume is out of print. Well, how many people are going to buy that? Especially because we talked about, what is it called, like, the hammock?
The hammock effect.
Yes.
Yeah, hammock effect.
That was Comic Beats dubbed that, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like people buy a ton of the first and the last volumes of the manga, but they don't buy that much of the middle. And so I guess if the print runs are usually, like, not as big for those, just because otherwise you're sitting there with a ton of stock in your warehouse.
Yeah.
So, like, what the company is going for and why they're doing it, and I guess I wouldn't say it's, like, 100% a terrible thing, but I would do exactly what Alert said before, is, like, you have to communicate that. Like, I'd be putting that in, like, their weekly or monthly, like, email newsletters and, like, on their social media, like, everything, to, like, let people know, like, communicate about this. Like, this is, like, you could say this is limited stock, like they were saying, like, make sure, like, hey, we're going to prioritize our website. Hey, this is the date that it might come out on the website. This is when it's going to get to retailers. Or, hey, it's not out at retailers yet, so it's not the retailer's fault, and there is still something coming. We didn't just cancel it or run out and be like, well, the rest of you guys are screwed, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think in theory it's not a bad idea. It's just they need to communicate it.
Yep.
It is a lot of money to print a ton of, you know, books and manga, and then try to keep it stored, and not only just to keep it stored, but keeping it stored in good condition.
Yeah.
Because people don't like their manga yellowed, and any manga you keep for a long time is going to yellow. That's just what paper does. So.
Yeah. I guess for mine, I mean, I think you both said it, said everything. I do think the size difference in catalogs also matter, because I think Alert, you had mentioned that you don't like how Yin Press does stuff versus how I guess Seven Seas is planning on doing it or is doing it. And I mean, at the very least, Seven Seas has a smaller catalog, I think, than Yin Press for the most part. Because Yin Press also has hundreds of light novels, manga, web novels, or not web novels, sorry, web comics, manhwa, all of that they have to manage. Versus Seven Seas does have a lot, but I don't think they have as many as Yin Press. So, I think that's one of the things. So I do kind of, maybe it's a hot take, but I do understand why Seven Seas does that with their low performers. I'm pretty sure they're not the only ones. Right? Sorry, yeah, thank you, Yin Press. Why Yin Press does that with their low performers. But I'm pretty sure they're not the only ones who do. But I do think I'm okay. I think both of you said, I'm okay if Seven Seas wants to sell it at their store first, and then do other retailers next. But they should communicate that at least with their distributor. And to the public as well. I thought they may have with the public, but if they didn't, they should have. If they did, then they should have communicated that with their distributor, because it seems to me that no matter what, their distributor was left in the dark about what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay. Well, I think we've already kind of answered the last talking point here as to who done it and why, which again, for those that want a quick TLDR, this is 100% on Seven Seas, not the retailers, not the distributors. Seven Seas 100% completely dropped the ball with this release and dropped the ball on the communication. Now, we don't know if this was done maliciously or if this was done intentionally or if it was just an oversight that they never saw. Right? We don't know. However, what we can say is I hope they learn from this and that they don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
However, they did not acknowledge it. They did not acknowledge this mistake. So, for example, when everyone was talking about the Titan Comics translation on Kamen Rider, Titan Comics, sure, they were like, okay, you guys might be right. And then later on, they're like, okay, yeah, no, you guys are right. We're going to go back to the drawing board and fix it. Here, Seven Seas really didn't do that. They just said, oh, well, you see, the first batch was limited batch, and if you didn't get it, that's okay. Just wait for your local retailer to get it, and okay, thanks, bye. And it's like, okay, that's great, but you should have maybe told us, hey, if you want in on this first batch, get it through our website.
Yeah.
The second batch will come later. But none of that was said. So, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I don't
agree.
get it. I don't get it. I mean, what do you think, Winner? Who done it and why?
No, I agree. I think it's on Seven Seas from this, because if their distributor was left out of this, because it seems like their distributor was expecting copies to come in, and they didn't receive it. So, and they have no idea why. It seems like, so yeah, no, this is fully on Seven Seas, and they should have. And I think you're right. They haven't acknowledged the problem, and for the most part, the community does not seem to have really called them out on that problem either. People are upset about oh, my copy of Franken Fran, my order of Franken Fran got delisted, or oh, my copy of my order of Franken Fran like hasn't shipped, even though I back order or pre-ordered with Right Stuff. But I haven't seen them I haven't seen anyone actually like really call that out, and maybe that's because they don't know who's really at fault. It could be like how it is with other content creators, like big content creators, where they're just like, oh, I'll just give them a pass. But I don't think it's that. I think it's more they don't know who's at fault. They all can't be like, this is Barnes & Noble's fault, because Right Stuff, Amazon, Books A Million, small retailers, they're all feeling this too. And some of them, I think, are maybe saying, hey, we reached out, and, we also don't know. So they're like, oh, this is maybe Penguin Random House. And, I mean, if you happen to know. And it seems like Penguin Random House is like, we don't know either. So if they know that middle part. But if they don't, they're just like, okay, if it's not my retailer's fault, then whose is it? Maybe 7C's? But 7C's did say that they're going to do a second shipment. But I think because they said they're going to do that second shipment, people are just like, oh, it's okay. It's okay because it's going to come in later. But I do think that 7C's needs to be held a little bit more accountable on this because of how they handled, because of what they did. It seems they need to be like held accountable to it, like a little called out on that. Because that was not cool, what they did, how they treated their distributor and how they treated their customers. Or the customers who bought it through other retailers, right? Who pre-ordered through other retailers. That's not cool. Yeah, that was not cool at all.
Agreed. So, Vampy, who done it? Who's responsible for this? And why?
I also agree with 7C's. I mean, Winter already said why, because it wasn't the distributor's fault. They didn't know. Or, what's going on, basically. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't blame the distributor, especially because it all links back to them, and, we're going to prioritize our shop, so...
Yep.
And, I mean, again, for me, same thing. Again, the problem is not the direction that 7C's wants to take with the reprints. It's just communicating that direction and communicating that with the audience what they're trying to do. Because it's like me saying, okay, guys, I'm going to, I don't know, I'm going to stop doing my giveaways, my weekly giveaways. Because, I don't know, I'm ran out of money. You guys keep bankrupting me every week. But I don't say anything. And I just continue on like nothing happened. And then people start to notice, hey, what happened to the weekly giveaways? And I'm like, oh, well, you see, you should have gotten into the first giveaway I did during the beginning of the month. But don't worry, there's a second giveaway that's going to happen sometime soon. No, that's not... No.
Exactly.
Come on. You got to communicate that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Well, there you go.
Hopefully that kind of gives some perspective to the whole Franken Fran issue. Hopefully you guys learned something. I know this was a great callback to one of our very first big reporting, which was the whole Udon situation with the hardcovers. That was a pretty good callback, especially going back through the chat logs to kind of make sure I got all my ducks in a row. So, and also, again, thank you, Winter, for reaching out to Carl. And again, thank you, Carl, for allowing us to share this information, because it's definitely something that people need to know about so that they can be more informed of how to get more, get their stuff printed again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much it. Unless either of you guys have any final words.
No. I'm good. What about you, Vampy?
Waiting for this to happen one more time.
There you go. It probably is. Right. It probably is going to happen one more time, and we're going to talk about it again. That's okay.
Woo!
Ooh, yeah, controversy. Yeah. I guess we'll go around the round table and plug our social media accounts. So, Vampy, start with you. What you got?
Mine is Manga Dusk. I mean one.
Got you.
No other ones.
No other ones. Totally not other ones. Winter, what you got?
Just a single one. Winter Venom 91. On Twitter. That's it.
Okay. And then y'all know me. You can follow me at Manga Alerts on pretty much all social media platforms now. I know Instagram was down today as of recording this, so I couldn't really post on Instagram today. But everywhere else, we good. I also host Twitter Spaces every so often. I'm trying to do it once a week on like anything big that's going on. So if you are on Twitter, there you go. I am trying to figure out how to move them over to like other spots too, so you can, because not everyone likes Twitter. So stay tuned for when I'm able to do that. Winter's been giving me some ideas, so we might host a space this week, maybe when this goes live. I don't know. We'll see, and kind of figure it out from there. I'm also running a giveaway where I'm giving away to celebrate 18K followers, giving away the Wotakoi Complete box set, which is open for everyone, and all you need to do is follow me, like, retweet. That's pretty simple. It's funny because when I announced that giveaway, I went from 18,000 now to 18.7K followers, which I'm probably going to lose now because I just burned the bridge with 7 Cs, but that's okay. So there's that, and then also follow at Shoujosi World, in which it's the account that I run secretly for all the shoujo and josei manga information, news, and updates. And for those that don't know, if you really want like a cheap way to get into it, please download the new Viz Media app so you can read all the shoujo that's on there for only $2 a month. No, we're not sponsored.
Read Basara.
There you go.
Everyone starts reading Hot Gimmick.
Oh my god!
Actually, technically, with the 100 chapters of 100 chapters a day rule, you could read all of Hot Gimmick and then read at least halfway through Basara. There you go. The world's your oyster.
God.
The world's your oyster. And last but not least, again, please follow at Behind the Manga on Twitter. That's going to be like the main hub, but we are trying to expand out a little bit more. I know we just launched a brand new website versus the old like weird ass like WordPress one that looked like shit. But now this one doesn't look like shit. And I'm currently working on V2, so it looks a lot more official where you guys can submit questions and all this other stuff. So stay tuned for that. We're also trying to start up our YouTube channel as well too. So hopefully at some point we'll start cataloging our stuff over there. So if you guys like YouTube versus Spotify or wherever you're listening to, that's another option for you as well.
Yeah, we did do we did drop like I guess some YouTube shorts to play around with video editing. So we did that. And then maybe this episode, maybe not. If not, like it'll probably be maybe a couple days after this drops on Spotify and other platforms. It'd be like whatever other platforms that that you normally listen to this probably first, and then YouTube maybe a couple days later.
Maybe. Okay. Alrighty. Well, again, thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us rant about 7 Cs and communication and manga publishers again. And we shall catch you in the next normal episode of Behind the Manga.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.